This video, then, guys and girls, is in relation to a word that you've all heard me uh, rant about 1,000 times. And so, a video that I watched, which I will play for you, prompted me into making this explanatory video and just to look at the state of the vast majority of the human race. Now, this word, Muggle, I first encountered it from the Harry Potter movies, and doubtless all of you did also. But it's been a word for some time, and it was a word that was potentially used uh, to mean a person not conversant with a particular activity or skill. Now, in that instance, that makes us all muggles, doesn't it? Because there isn't a single one of us that knows and can do everything. It's ridiculous, and so that kind of makes a mockery of that word. It makes it a non-word. It makes it ridiculous and superfluous. Uh, so it's got underneath it, she is a muggle, no IT background, understanding, or aptitude at all. Well, then you could say she's a muggle, she doesn't know how to do plumbing. She's a muggle, she doesn't know how to drive a bus. She's a muggle, she doesn't know how to tarmac roads. Yeah, that's very stupid. And this is the thing with language. And, this is why some people have the greatest of issue with it. Now, what is the real meaning of muggle? A non-magical person. Now, why does it say the real meaning? Um, does it have a meaning or not? I mean, you don't need a pretense to any other word, do you? I mean, what's the real meaning of human being? What's the real meaning of a painter and decorator? They don't put that, do they? So why are they putting it here in this instance? Again, it just takes us into silly land. It really does. It really does. So, a non-magical. A non-magical person in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter universe. A person who is not familiar with the Harry Potter universe. He is a muggle. As I've just said, someone who isn't familiar with anything is a muggle. So, no, it means something more specific. So let us get down to the nitty-gritty, please. This is what I'm asking. So he hasn't read. What about she? Why don't you say he or she? Goodness me, it's 2025. He or she hasn't read any of the books. A person who is not familiar with or knowledgeable about a specific subject, often used attributively. Now, what is a muggle in Harry Potter? In Harry Potter, a muggle is a person who has no magical ability and was not born into a magical family. Muggles live unaware of the wizarding world, and witches and wizards take great lengths to keep their existence a secret from them. For example, through laws like the Statute of Secrecy. Doesn't that sound like the power structures that are going on in the world? I mean, it happens everywhere, doesn't it, really? These secret societies and little gangs and conventions and groups and all the rest of it. So, key characteristics Muggles lack any magical powers and live in a non magical society. Distinction from other terms. A squib is someone born to magical parents but without any magical ability. A muggle born is someone who has magical abilities but was born to two non-magical parents. Wow, we're getting into some Scientology now, people. Um, let's just go down to have a look at another What is it the opposite to muggle? Okay, let us see. A muggle is a person who is born into a non. Yeah, you've said that. So, well, what is the opposite then? A squib. Okay, a squib is someone who is born into a wizarding family but does not possess any magical powers. So, okay, so, well, that's a non person, really, isn't it? If a muggle is someone born outside of a non magical family, and the distinction between someone born into one of those families is a squib, but neither of them have any wizarding ability, well, aren't they the same thing? I'm confused. Are you confused? Is it any wonder we just sigh? That's all we do. We just sigh. We really do. What is this world? What is language? What is this fucked up shit? What is a bloody muggle? Mudblood itself was a term meaning that Muggle-borns had dirty blood and were a big disgrace to the wizarding world, and thus had no right to be a witch wizard, and were undeserving of magic. The slur implied that the individual has dirty blood, and was considered extremely offensive. Wow, isn't that a thing? It sounds almost like the N word. I tell you what, the whole of the non-black world, we have to embarrass ourselves every single second of every day, whilst we are on any sort of social media platform or operating in any business, because we have to go, oh, the N word, that secret word that no white person could ever utter. And yet, when you're in a group of black people, they are saying it in every second or third word. They're using it so pervasively, it's incredible. And yet we can't use that. I'm sick and tired of this fucking world, to be honest with you people. The human beings and language and the bullshit that's going on. And I just caught a little bit of a glimpse of the news in the gym, and Nigel Farage is in the hot seat because the opposition is trying to crucify him because he was alluding to people not being of the same value, and they're calling him fascist. All this stuff that's going on around these days. President Trump has just been called a fascist, hasn't he? By, is it Cash Patel? And I'm like, wow. It's just politics. It's just stupid games. It's stupid, fucked up pink ape games. And really, we should all be above it. We should all be mature enough not to be involved in that shit throwing fucking cesspool. But it appears that nobody is above it. Everybody's just so wrapped up and embroiled into it. And even if you don't partake in it, you're still embroiled into it, because you can't say things like Nazi, and you can't say the word like N word, because if I said that now, this video will be taken down and I'd get a strike. But just for the hell of it, I'm going to walk down the street tomorrow and I'm going to say it at the top of my voice 1,000 times whilst I'm on the way to the gym. Muggle is a British slang word. Okay, let's have a look at see what that says then. A muggle is the person without magical abilities. Well, who the fuck's got magical abilities? What, like we can wave our wand and turn a frog into a fucking handsome prince? What the fuck are they talking about? In the Harry Potter series. Oops. I should have finished the sentence, shouldn't I? Otherwise, it has been used in a number of groups and fields to refer to an outsider, non-initiate, or one lacking basic knowledge of the field. Well, there you have it, people. I'm going to play this video because I'm all worn out. There's a large section in my book where I just rip an arsehole into language, and I go on to Google, go onto dictionary, and I put a certain word in and I ask what it is. And it says it's this word, that word, the other word, and this word. And then I just choose one of the words that it says it was, and I say, "What's this word?" And it says it's this word, that word, and the other word. And then I go, "Okay, well, I'll pick one of those words, and I'll ask what that word is." And by the time I've done this about 20 times, you end up back where you started. So it goes round in the circle that this word means this, which means that. And so you end up back at 12 o'clock, people. And so, what's actually going on with language? It's the Ouroboros. It's the snake eating its own tail. And this is why no fucker understands anyone, because we are not equipped with a system that can articulate ourselves in a way which is true and honest. We just can't do it. Language is entirely irrational, and it lacks sophistication at the end of the day. I mean, the British language is supposed to be, probably the best and most expressive language on the planet. This is why it's so pervasive, and yet I find it very, very difficult to make a head or tail of any of this shit because it's just gobbledygook and bollocks at the end of the day. So, going to play you this video.
Walter, if one is going to try to deal with theistic claims in the world, one has to take all of the claims. And in most religions...
Let me just get it on the normal speed. Right, let's start again. Now, this is closer to truth.
Walter, if one is going to try to deal with theistic claims in the world, one has to take all of the claims. And in most religions, there are the existence of other non-physical beings besides God. Call them angels, call some demons, various other kinds of spirits. They seem to populate various religions. How should we begin to look at that? Because if we're going to be interested in religion, we have to take these claims seriously as claims of those religions. How do we deal with them? We deal with them the same way we deal with fairies and gnomes in the...
Now, this guy is your classic Muggle.
Garden. And there's just no reason to believe in any kind of non-physical creatures.
Really? There's no reason to believe that? Where the fuck have you been, bro? Have you ever done any psychedelics? Have you ever had an out-of-body experience? Have you ever had a spiritual or religious phenomenal experience? Evidently not. That's why he's a complete and utter fucking Harry Potter Muggle.
Stories about them are inconsistent. They're non-physical, but they have wings. I mean, it's amazing.
Stories about everything are inconsistent. You try and find a story that's got consistency, that doesn't get completely obliterated when anybody else tries to tell it or state a claim that they were there. You try to get consistency anywhere, you dumb motherfucker.
That people can continue to believe when there's so many problems with the believing in that. Now, can you prove that they don't exist? Of course not. People can say, well, my angels don't have wings. They're non-physical after all. They couldn't have wings. And so...
Well, this guy is a fucking idiot from the start, because it never said in the Old Testament or the New Testament anywhere that angels had wings. Angels never had wings. Angels appeared in a human form, and they were mostly indistinguishable from other humans. So the fucking knobhead hasn't even read the scriptures. So this is it. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with complete and utter ignoramuses. They're so fucking ignorant. Their heads are stuck so firmly up their arseholes. They're so above everybody else's opinion because they think theirs is the fucking one, that they don't even bother to read what the opposition have to say.
They can get around those problems, but then you're left with just no reason whatsoever to believe in them. You might as well believe in Linus's Great Pumpkin in the famous Peanuts cartoon, or any of the other strange things that people believe in. There's obviously a large contingent of humanity in different cultures that claim to have seen various kinds of beings like this, right? And also that have seen ghosts and fairies and uh, and elves and
Instantly bringing it down to mockery. Oh, they've seen fairies and elves and gnomes. And then he goes on to say, well, you could have a piece of fluff on your eye and that could look like a ghost.
so on. But the fact that many people claim to have seen them shouldn't convince us that they really do exist, because people claim to see all kinds of things. Sometimes they're perfectly honest and they really do think that those things exist. Many people who claim to see ghosts.
Oh, bless their souls. They're all so misguided. And, they may think, and they may be very honest in what they think, that they actually, did see an apparition or a demonic face or experience an astral shadow being or any number of things. I was speaking to little old lady in the church. She's kind of like the caretaker, and she opens up and closes up and she makes sure the services go well, and she's a devout Christian. And I said, do you have any good reason why you're Christian, or is it just something that you want to be? And she says, well, if you call seeing the Virgin Mary standing at the end of my bed telling me that everything's going to be okay, giving me strength, if you call that good reason, then yes. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. If you've got something like that, then who am I? I've had plenty of crazy shit that I've seen. And so I don't discount any of this stuff. And nor would he if that fucking pea brain muggle, muppet, knobhead, automaton had experienced life in any shape or form. Look, you know what it's experienced, sucking narrow wieners, because his mouth is frozen in that shape, sucking a narrow wiener like Anthony Fauci's wiener. Look at the little knob nosher.
Ghosts. They really thought there was a ghost in the corner. They looked over there and there seemed to be a shadowy, wavy type of creature in the thing. I'm not denying that they're being honest. There are these little things in your eyes, at least I've got them, that are floaters that seem to float out there. And when you get scared, one of those floaters might look like a ghost. They could be perfectly honest.
Really? Well, I've never, ever, ever heard that one before. You look at these people and you just want to ask how much they're getting paid. This is the paid opposition, isn't it? Nothing to see here. Absolutely discounting God and the devil and evil and angels and good things like heaven. No, it's all about banking and pharmaceuticals. That's what it's all about.
Or they could be, when they talk about fairies and elves, not totally honest, but somewhat motivated to actually be a leader in their community. And leaders in those communities are ones who can see these fairies and elves because they're seen as being powerful and having impact on our lives. And if
Fairies and elves. I mean, who the fuck sees fairies and elves? Why couldn't he take it just a little bit serious and say to Thomas Kuhn, um, is it Thomas Kuhn? Uh, it's certainly Kuhn. I don't think it's Thomas Kuhn. Thomas Kuhn's a famous dude. Um, his name will come to me, but it's Kuhn, the second name. Now, he should give him respect because he's been around the world and he's had this series for many, many years, and it is a very, very popular series. He goes to interview all different sorts of philosophers and psychologists and spiritualists and everything, searching for truth. That's why his channel's called Closer to Truth. Now, if this guy had any respect at all for what Robert Kuhn was doing, then he might just start to include things that he's heard vastly more than speak about seeing elves and gnomes. No fucker's ever told you, mate, that they saw an elf or a gnome in their fucking garden. But you've heard plenty of stories about supernatural apparitions, ghosts and spirits and things like that. And so why couldn't you give this whole conversation a modicum of respect by saying, well, yes, there are lots of people that are convinced that they've seen lots of things like that, and who knows? There's many reasons. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a neurosurgeon, so I've got no idea as to what may be causing them. And to lots of people, they are probably very very real as you are sitting there in front of me now. He doesn't even go there, does he? This guy is a wank face.
If you can see them, then I'm going to listen to you because I haven't seen them, and you've now got a special power that'll help me. There are all kinds of social and interpersonal relations, as well as physical explanations like the floaters in the eyes. They can explain why so many people actually believe in these things. Some would.
So the height of his intelligence, explaining away seeing things like apparitions, is a floater in your eye. Well, I don't think a 3-year-old child will be confused with a floater in its eye about seeing a shadow being move across the fucking room. And so, this guy doesn't mention anything about the sciences. I mean, the sciences have studied these phenomena for many, many years, fucking 200 years. Scientists have been trying to see, what's behind this phenomena, and many a serious person would reasonably be convinced that this phenomena is true, because, like Robert Kuhn said, he said, "Look, there's millions of people that attest to angels and devils and gods and things like that. So there must be something there."
Would claim that Satan or demons are responsible for a great deal of the evil in the world, and therefore that exonerates God in some way. But people really believe in these things. Yeah. Well, I think that's a very common belief as well. If you look at the statistics sociologically, societies where there's a very high murder rate are much more likely to believe in the devil because they want to believe that.
Are you a criminologist? Are you a psychologist? What makes you qualified to make that ridiculous fucking claim? If there's more murders in the realm, then it obviously must be the devil. Really? Have you been listening to some African outback tribes movie or what, mate?
that those crimes are not done by people like me and you, much less people like my parents or my children. Instead, they're caused by something else, not by humans, because that would mean that I'm vulnerable and my parents and my kids.
You see, he can't even get his sentences out with any coherence. He says that people who live in these regions where their family and friends and such like um, perpetrate these murders, they couldn't have done it. Well, no, mate. They did do it, but maybe what you're missing, that the devil made them do it. They thought the devil was possessing them to do it or something like that. He's just got no clarity, no intelligence, nothing. And this is why I'm sick of cunts, because they're fucking everywhere. Let's just have a listen to this twat again.
Else, not by humans, because that would mean that I'm vulnerable and my parents and my kids are vulnerable to becoming like that as well. And so it's natural to want to.
So we all deny that we're vulnerable to murder of our own accord, and so we all blame it on the devil or demon, do we? Really? Robert Kuhn should have said, "You are one fucking knob sucking little faggot ass bitch." Oh, wow, I'm on one tonight, aren't I? I'm filled with venom for these cunts, people. They make me sick to my fucking core. What purpose do they have? Does the twat? What I mean, what would he do? A paper shuffling little fucking homo. What the fuck purpose would he serve? Only he thinks he's the bee's knees, doesn't he? He thinks he's got the answers to everything.
Want to shift the blame to another species, another type of creature, then I can feel a lot more confident with my friends and
Shift the blame to another species, mate. What you calling elves and gnomes a species now? Are you? So what you admitting that they could be a viable issue then? So he's so unintelligent. This dude, he can't even get out one coherent sentence, which would be respectable.
my family that I have to live with. So the motivation is clear. But again, that doesn't mean they have reasons to believe in me.
Oh, the motivation's clear. Well, if my Uncle Sam goes and murders someone, well, obviously it was the devil and it wasn't him, right? Yeah, nobody wants to believe that they're capable of murder. It's a no-brainer.
The argument is that various cultures that really have nothing to do with one another in terms of their belief system, sometimes even their interactions, so many cultures have this as part of them. That they have beliefs that, although it may be colored by local names or something else, when you get it down to its essence, they look kind of the same. They're the same kinds of non physical beings that are so pervasive. And this is used as an argument to say that there may be some reality to it. Well, there are a lot of differences as well, which can be explained
Oh,
by
well,
cultural factors.
look how haughty I'm speaking. I'm just talking down to you and completely dismissing that nonsense that people for thousands of years have been seeing the same entities. Wow! Well, it's obviously because they had a floater in their eye. It's a no-brainer.
And the similarities are explained by the similarities in motivation. Notice that my argument about crimes going on and some people
The similarities of what people have seen for thousands of years are written off by the similarities of motivation that we all want to lie or we all want to project our fears onto devils and demons and all that sort of thing. Wow, I'm going to send him a horde of demons tonight to bug out his orifices until he's screaming like he's in the eternal Gehenna. Yes, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send this black screaming horde of demons straight into that motherfucker's awesome mouth.
being bad, and you wanting to think that it's not the humanness of that person that's creating it, because then you and your children and your family and friends would be infected. That's a very general argument that can apply to all cultures where people do bad things, which means all cultures. So all cultures are going to have a motivation to believe in demons of some sort that lead humans astray. It's going to make them feel better about themselves and their friends and family.
Yeah,
That's not going to vary from
of
culture to
course.
culture. And that's going to produce many similarities in the way in which we think about those creatures, because there are going to be certain ways that remove more of the responsibility. But there's still vast differences created by cultures in the way these demons are conceived.
Oh yeah, look how oh he's so well he's acting like he's so convinced. But you know, he must know behind those lying eyes that he hasn't got a fucking wing and a prayer to hold on to hold any of this shit together. Who is this fucker? Let's see who this cunt is. Many theologians take angels and demons seriously. Why? Certainly most human beings believe in angels and demons. Certainly most human beings believe in them. Anecdotal cases are legion. Certainly, such non-physical beings, in one form or another, populate most of the world's religions. Not only that, mate, they're there in the secular world as well. But angels and demons seem out of place. anachronistic in our modern world? If there is there anything here we should take seriously? Make a tax deductible. Alexander Rosenberg, okay, is an American philosopher and novelist. Wow, this dude, a philosopher? What sort of a philosopher? Couldn't think more broadly, more openly, more expansively, more considerately, more respectfully about this subject matter, which there's been millions and millions of books written about. And I've got a good dozen of very, very good books on my bookshelf now. What's this twat been doing? He is the R. Taylor Cole Professor of Philosophy at Duke University, well known for contributions to philosophy of biology and philosophy of economics. Well, there you go. Philosophy of biology, so he's a physicalist, and a philosophy of economics. So some fuckers bought and paid for him. And Rosenberg describes himself as a naturalist. Well, mate, you should look into paganism then, just a little bit, just a teeny little bit, if that's what you think you are. Because you don't sound like a naturalist to me in any shape or form. You sound bigoted, naive, haughty, and very, very constrained in your thinking capacity. A philosopher, wow, I think you should take your certificate back, mate, because you ain't no fucking philosopher. Anyway, people, that's your fucking muggle for you. And if you look at him as a classic, how they think they know everything, and this is the Dunning Kruger thing going on, whereby I don't know what books he would have read in relation to philosophy, but most certainly he wouldn't have read anything of any substance, because if he did, then he most certainly will have a little bit of an open mind and much more respect, and to be able to just sit down and just be very, very open about everything, instead of closing everything down as complete nonsense. And every single person that proclaims they've seen a ghost or a spirit or an elf or a fairy is a fucking lunatic or a liar, or are desperate to have something to blame something on. How absurd! How sickeningly absurd! And so, if you copy and paste that twat onto a large portion of society, that's why I don't want to go out and get involved with them, because they just make me sick to my fucking core. And well, goodness me, I'd have a field day with that twat. I'd have a field day with him. He will be fucking crying within about 5 minutes of speaking to me. Anyway, people, you make your own minds up what you think about muggles and tossers like him, and whether there are such things as the paranormal and supernatural. As far as I'm concerned, I've experienced plenty of that stuff, in a physical, visual way, in an auditory way, in a sensory way, in a presence way. And the first time I left my body, I swore that I would never discount any of the supernatural. Not that I did before, obviously, because I was open minded. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent 150 hours deeply practicing the outer body um, routines to get an out of body experience. Um, and as it goes, all of the ways in which I learnt about never worked for me. I just did it spontaneously, and I could never do it in any formatted way like Robert Monroe would speak about, like, hey, all you need to do is just do this and it happens. You see, he was being very, very naive to think that that's the only way. And he never stopped to question for 1 minute that, well, this works for me. What's the chance of it working for anybody else? I mean, he never even heard of anybody else having an OBE before he started to write about it. And so why did he conclude that? Why did he write a book speaking so convincingly how to have an out of body experience? When it's like Terence McKenna, if he was absolutely solid about what you're going to see when you take DMT are these self transforming Fabergé egg machine elves, no one I've ever listened to has ever seen any of those. And no one I've ever listened to has ever seen God or Plato or Socrates in the fucking clouds either. Those are my experiences. And so this is the thing. I mean, we're all different because these things work on our brains in a very different way because our brains are all configured very, very differently. And so it is exceedingly naive to try to write a blueprint for anything. And so this is why it's almost worthless if you are going to be taking some entheogens and you start listening to people's trip reports, because the chances are of you having anything like what they had is almost zero. It does happen. You can have something similar, but most of the time, I mean, I've listened to so many people, and my Amanita muscaria, I have never ever heard anyone speak about Amanita muscaria like the experiences I've had, nor DMT. And some of you who saw me go into a ketamine K hole on 30 milligrams, most people don't even get that on 125 milligrams. And so, it's horses for courses, people. Anyway, that's this video.